Beautiful divine souls, welcome to this super juicy, super interesting video, because today I'm going to tell you my experience of my very first incarnation on planet Earth. That's right, Natasha, Cosmic Empress here, sharing with you the story of my very first life on Earth. So if you're wondering, how is that possible? How can you know this? I've studied this. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, a past life regressionist. I am working in the AKASHIC records these days to get information directly at soul level. I work with the pendulum. I work with visions, inner knowing, clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, to get this information. I've studied this for a long time, and this is the type of work that I do in my personal practice. So let's start. Once upon a time, 960,000 years ago, a soul incarnated in a human body. And that was me. And when I jumped into that life, boom, I opened my eyes and I felt something crunchy and I saw snow and ice. So my feet jumped on an icy ground and I saw fur on my feet and up my body. And the first thing I thought was, oh, am I some sort of weird prehistoric man animal? Why is there so much fur? But then I started walking, crunch, 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 crunch. And I realized they were fur boots. And I actually had fur. I had clothing made out of animal hair on my body. So I thought, okay, good. That means that I am in this lifetime and somehow civilized, developed, a human being that is developed. So that's where my source, that's where my story starts, where my lifetime starts, with that moment of landing on crunchy ice and seeing that. So I started moving forward in that lifetime in my vision. And I started walking. And the first thing I noticed was that my vision was really clear, crystal clear. My perception, my depth perception, my color perception, my whole clarity of perceiving was better than it is today. I saw clearly, I heard clearly. I was like an eagle or like a cat, almost like an animal, seeing really clearly, seeing everything. And I walked down through woods and they were like pine trees, evergreens, walking down a path. And then suddenly a clearing opened up before me and there was a beautiful crystal clear mountain lake with mountains, snow caps, wildflowers, kind of like the postcards of the north of Canada that you see. I live in Canada now, maybe that's why. And I've always loved those pictures where you have this mountain lake where where the trees and the mountains are reflected in the clear lake water and the lake water is blue. It's exactly what I saw in that vision. So 960,000 years ago, I lived as a prehistoric man. I know I was a man. Where there were glaciers. When I zoomed out, I saw big glaciers covering a lot of the earth. And I lived there in a climate that was quite cold. And I had clear vision. And another thing I noticed was, and this is really interesting, I noticed that my mind was clear. My thoughts weren't muddled. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on. I was like moving forward with purpose, with intention, with clarity, feeling happy, feeling light, feeling just really balanced, just like now, in the moment. That's how I felt. And it was an incredible feeling. And I know, my friends, I know that when you start an incarnational cycle on a planet, on planet Earth, for example, You're born with no karma. You're clear. Your karma is clear. And I do a lot of this work, you know. Some of you have probably worked with me, have seen, you know, my website, soul realignment, you know, I clear the karma. And that's the first time that I knew what it was like to be walking with no karma, to be walking clear and strong and confident and just being who I am, being completely aligned to who I am at soul level. Even though it was like, you know, in those days where there wasn't that much going on. There wasn't a lot of intermingling with other people. There were very few people on the planet, widespread. But I felt so clear and so purposeful. And that's the one thing that I've taken away from that vision. I went in and out several times. That was really important for me to know what it feels like to be clear and clean. And a lot of the things that I do right now in my personal practice, when I meditate, you know, in my spiritual awakening, is to try to get to that state of clarity and alignment to my soul. And that experience in that incarnation brought me a step closer to that because I know what it feels like. So anyway, I continued on. I moved on in that vision. A little later in the day, and I walked up the mountain again into a cave. And that's where I lived, in a cave. So obviously people lived in caves. They didn't build houses those days. And there were other people there. And the first thing I noticed was that when I went in, I kind of knew, I felt the presence of each person and the thoughts, the thought patterns, the emotional patterns of each person. So we were telepathic, not directly with words, but I could perceive one was hungry, the other was a little tired, the other was just busy doing things. And I spoke to them, I communicated to them with simple, like more guttural words like hung, dun, hung, hing, something like that, with hand movements and with thoughts. So that was very interesting. It was more basic, the communication, but more subtle and more developed because I could feel what they were feeling and thinking, but not in an intrusive way. Kind of like you feel the breeze. When you're outside, you feel the wind. It's maybe cold or it feels a certain way. And it was like that. The other people in my clan, their thoughts and emotions were like a breeze going past me and I could feel it. It was just part of the environment. And that's the second thing that I took out of, the really interesting thing I took out of that experience, that I was living dream time. It was kind of like a dream time type consciousness. That's what it reminded me of. I don't know exactly how it is to live dream time, but I believe from what I've heard from the Aboriginal people of this planet that it's being in tune and connected to your surroundings, to the other people, to the history, just to the whole environment in a whole different way. And that's how I lived 960,000 years ago. And I was connected to nature, to the animals, to time in a completely different way, an organic way. And I fit in and I felt good, confident, right. So that was really, really amazing. So we move forward in time. And I wanted to know, what I ate. So I saw that I was a hunter. We were hunters and gatherers, and I was a man. I had brown eyes, dark hair, facial hair. I was kind of short. I was maybe this high, a little bit shorter than now. Strong but compact. More hair on my body than men have nowadays. But like really sensitive and really strong and really perceptive. And I was a hunter. So I would run with my other tribal colleagues or mates, I would say. We would run and we had like really rudimentary type spears and knives out of stone. And we would hunt and we would kill deer. They were like big deer. And that's what I saw. I also saw woolly mammoths. There were woolly mammoths there. They were like big cats. They were dangerous animals. But I did not live in fear. I lived in a kind of a calm state of being, knowing where to go and what to do, and very confident the whole time. And I was hunting. The women were gathering nuts and seeds and fruits and roots and different things that they would dry. And then I went into the experience of eating, and I wanted to specifically know if I ate like raw meat, because I thought, okay, I didn't really want to experience it, but okay, what was I eating? So I actually went in again into this past life, and I saw myself eating like a piece of raw meat, pretty bloody, with strands of fibrous meat. And I bit into it, and it tasted good. Like it was, it was almost like, it was like a hearty kind of candy, and very soft and very nourishing. So to my tongue, that raw bloody meat actually tasted good. And then I wanted to know, so the thing is, in this lifetime, I had an intention to know certain things, and I would jump into a different vision, a different time of day, or a different time of year. And I wanted to know if we were able to cook. So I jumped into another vision where I was sitting in front of this fire, and there was a big stone on the fire with a big slab of meat sizzling on the fire. And with a stick, someone would turn it around. So 960,000 years ago, we had fire. We cooked on stones, and there were other stones with hollows in them that were used to cook roots and vegetables and meats and broths. So we cooked 960,000 years ago. We had fire, we had tools, we had communication, we hunted together. We were clear, we lived in dream time, and we were telepathic. And I don't know if this is true for all the others, but for me, I lived a life without karma. So that was actually a really, really beautiful life. And I went in several times. And I never saw anything huge, dramatic. Like I don't have like this huge, dramatic story to tell about something that happened. But that whole life felt harmonious and good. I had a family. I had children. They were more like children of the clan that everybody took care of. I lived a full and very satisfying life. It was simple, but it wasn't basic. It was like every day was an interesting, beautiful, and purposeful day in that lifetime. And that's what I got out of it. And this experience of like really feeling what it was like to be in that body and to see and to feel what I was doing has really changed my perspective on life. And it's helped me be purposeful, because you know, our lives, your life, my life, our lives are complicated and cluttered. We all have so much karma that gives us stress and anxiety and negative belief systems and limitations. And then there's society, and then the air is full of belief systems and internet and information. Everything's flying around. And just knowing that I lived a life where this was all God was like, whew, clear, the air was clear. There was nothing there. Just clarity and purpose and peace in my heart every day. And I've taken a part of that. I've taken some of that and kind of put it into my life today. And since those days, it was just a couple weeks ago when I started going into this past life. Since that time, I truly feel different. I've taken a big part of that experience into my life, and I feel more relaxed, and I'm more confident in myself, and I've just taken that energy and I'm using it. So it's really, really beautiful. A really beautiful lifetime. So yeah, once upon a time, 960,000 years ago, I lived a good life. And I'm drawing from that now. So that's the story of my first life. And I'd like to know if you have ever delved into prehistoric lifetimes of yours. Have you delved into any lifetimes? I mean, I have researched and delved into other lifetimes, but more recent ones, I would say maximum 3,000-4,000 years in the past from now, but 960,000 years ago, that kind of blew my mind because I had not researched the history of man recently, so I didn't even know that it was possible to go that far, or that humans even had a type of consciousness that we could tap into. But yes, they do. It's real. This experience for me is real, and it's been really, really valuable. So let me know your experience. And if you like this, please let me know, what else do you want to hear? Do you want to hear more of my other stories? I mean, those 63 lifetimes that I have lived on Earth that I've researched, there's some that I have lived in Atlantis and in other cultures, and I'm going to continue researching this. If you're interested, let me know down below in the comments, and I will continue telling you. And yes, the lifetimes I lived before incarnating on Earth is something for another video. So if you're interested in that, let me know as well. And remember now to subscribe and hit the little bell so you'll be notified when new videos come out. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Love you guys. Let me know what you think. Natasha, your ancient, oh so ancient cosmic empress. Wishing you a lovely day. Bye for now.